to challenge myself to actually read the books that I've been postponing to read for such a long time. Hi friends, this is insane. I do begin by taking a look. Hola, hello, hi, it's me again, this time in September. This is so much better. Books that I have here. These should be the books that I'll read in September. I'm not sure if I will actually add more books because I have another challenge that I want to do throughout this month. Oh, wait a sec. I literally forgot there's one more book that I want to read. And there's actually another book waiting for me at the library. It's getting hot and it hasn't even started. Change of plans. There's one more book added to the pile and it has a bookmark. First, we have Little Life, but I was actually here. I didn't get to finish it. This book actually was dropped for a while. Hopefully, A Little Life is going to be read. And then, I really think I will enjoy this book so much. That's one of the main reasons why I've been postponing to reading it, which is Fucking Around. It is a series. There's another book from this series that's going to be out this month, September, and it's called Fucking Sweet. I saw that and I said this has to be a sign for me to read Fucking Around because this is just standing on my list for so long. People that have read it have loved it so much, and it's so weird because when I read the back of the book, Rachel is actually telling us that she's going to fall in love with three guys. This should have probably taken me back for at least a second, but for some reason it didn't. I don't know what happened. I think there was something in the book that I looked at him, the book looked at me and said, we are going home together. And that's what happened. And it has been waiting for me to be read. Fucking Around has to be read in September too, hopefully. And then there's another book. I think this is the main reason why I'm doing this video, because I want to read these books and I haven't. And it's also just to hold myself accountable, and then knowing that someone is watching me, there's this pressure of finishing the books. And it's like feeling that someone is watching me and I have to get a thesis due. Thesis. I have to get an assignment due. And this is what it feels like. I feel like I have to get these books due until the end of September. The other one is Good Material. Everybody knows this book. This book has probably gone through every single person's CBR because honestly, why not? Dolly Alderton. Let's just run it through again with the right words. So it's going to be The Midnight Library, and then we have The Women. It will probably be Good Material, and then Fucking Around, and then Little Life. Hopefully this will be the books I'll be reading in order in this video. It will be fun. Let's get started reading. I'm going to finish this book tonight so I can start the other one tomorrow. I'm still recording. Sorry. Hi friends, I have a few updates 2 days after I spoke to you. So, the thing is, I finished The Midnight Library, as you've seen. I didn't finish in the night that I told I was going to finish it. I actually finished the day after that. So 1 out of 5. I loved this book so much. I'm so happy I got the decision of reading this. Such a wholesome book. I think every single person should read this book at least once in their life, because this book is just something. This is going to be one of the books that I will definitely buy one day, just to keep it with me. It has been such an important journey. Since I was in the pace of reading romances, fiction, novels, I felt like, okay, I'm going into this book and I already had that idea, already got that romance fiction pace in my mind. So when I got into this book, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to enjoy it that much. But it was actually just the beginning. It's nothing about the story. It was just the idea that I have in my mind. There were some expectations that I thought the book was going to be about, but it was not. So I think by the time I kept reading the book, I felt like, okay, this is not a light book. It was pretty easy to read. It was pretty easy to understand what was happening, but this is not the type of book that you just read, put it back on your shelf and forget. This is literally the book that you read and you're going to think about it for days. You are going to have a lot of tabs on it. You are going to reread a few sentences. You are going to think about it, because this was really a book that made you think about life in general. And I really think that all of the quotes, all of the sentences, all of the story itself was so well thought. There were parts in the book that I really thought it was like the life lesson, but then the author came up with another life lesson. This had so many twists, so many thought-provoking things. Definitely something that will make people think about life in general, relationships, about themselves mostly, because this book talks a lot about the main character's journey, the inner thoughts, the emotions, all of the things that she was going through at the time. This is literally a book that made you think about life so much. I think this book is literally one of those that was so rich in terms of literacy, in terms of thinking, in terms of emotion. So if you have been indecisive between reading The Midnight Library, please do it. If you have another book on your TBR, just read this one. It's not the type of book that you expect to find romance, all the rom-coms, all the tipsy things. No, it does get into a lot of things that everybody can relate to: family, friends, relationships, life in general. I really think that people will at least relate with something. I think this was the first book that I really tapped so much. I ran out of blue tab, marking page after page. Sometimes I had 2 marks on the same page. I can read maybe a couple quotes. This is the book that I keep, where I write all the quotes that I find in books that I can keep, which is the example of this one. Or sometimes the book that I really want to sell, I just write all the quotes that I don't want to forget. Okay, just so you can compare. This we can compare before going into the Midnight Library quotes. This is a page of July, and it has at least 3 different books and their specific quotes. But then when we get to the Midnight Library, it literally took a whole page. This is insane. I'm not going to read all of them because obviously there are so many, but I'm going to choose a couple of them. Oh, I really enjoyed a letter that Nora, the main character, was writing about, because in the beginning of the book she was going through a really tough time. The premises of the story, you get to know it because it comes really straightforward in the beginning of the book. And then she ends up writing a letter about the world in general and how people just think that they have to run the world to find their place. And this quote, she says, "Love and laughter and fear and pain are universal currencies." And it was literally something that made me think about, because of course you had this context, and when you read the letter, this sentence really hits you because it's something so obvious and people just don't remember sometimes. Sometimes I think we are unfortunate. It's deeper than you think. I'm not going into it right now. I really think you should read the book and get your own conclusions. Oh, and this one really, it's deeper because I think this was really far ahead in the book. And she said, "It's quite a revelation to discover that the place you wanted to escape to is the exact same place you escaped from. The prison wasn't the place, but the perspective." You got really thinking about that, because sometimes you can just move all around the world, or sometimes you just can't, and you really think that you won't be able to get out of the situation you are, but deeply it really starts in your mind and the way you see things, and that's how the change starts. It really starts within ourselves. That's what she was trying to tell us. Such a pretty quote. Okay, I'm going to choose the last one. This was part of a really big quote. She said, "It would have made things easier if we understood that there was no way of living that can immunize you against your sadness, and that sadness is intrinsically part of the fabric of happiness. You can't have one without the other." And sometimes we just think about the way we wish we were not sad, because obviously it's something that we don't enjoy feeling. It just makes the thing a little bit more lighter to think about. You should read the book. I rated it 4.5 stars because it was just that good. I loved this book so much. I'm definitely going to buy it one day. And I'm so happy this is not an underrated book. I enjoyed it so much. 4.5 for the first book of September. And then for the next one, I started reading The Women. I'm on chapter 7, page 68. I think I'm enjoying it. It's not bad, actually. I think I'm going to like this book. I don't know. Hello. So, update on the challenge. Book number 2 has been DNF'd. I think by this time it's getting a little bit repetitive because it's the second book that I DNF from this author. Where's the book? Christine Hanna. So the thing is, I really want to like this author. I really want to like her books. I really want to get into it and try to understand where's the emotional part that the author usually gives the readers. A lot of people, when they talk about Virginia Hanna books, they say that it gets a lot of emotions, and it is definitely emotional books. And every time they read about it, any of Christine Hanna's, they cry or they at least feel something. And for me, it's the exact opposite. I really can't explain why this is happening with her. I really think it's because her writing does seem, in my opinion, very superficial. There's a lot of things that she presents us and says that this is happening, this happened, but she doesn't show us the process. There was a lot of things I recognized that on Firefly Lane too. Her writing felt a little bit off, to be honest. First, I really think that what makes me feel a little bit detached from the characters in the story, it's because the story is told in the third person. And I really think it kind of messes up with our connection with the character, because we are not really knowing what the main character is feeling. It's because someone is talking for her or someone is talking about every character's emotions, but at the same time in a very superficial way. There was a moment where she said that the main character loved the man that's in this book. And for me, it really came by surprise, because from the previous pages, she didn't say that. She said completely the opposite, because the man was a married man. And when she found out, she said like, you know what? I don't think you are the one. So yeah, that's what happened. So she had this idea from this man just because of that situation. And then a few pages later, this man comes up to her and says, I really love you. I think we should be together. I wish I met you first, because again, he was married. And then she said, you know, I'm in love with this man. I love this man. I wish I could hold him. I love him. And I didn't see that. Like, I didn't see the process. It was literally something that happened in the moment. I didn't see that happening. So I didn't really feel for any of them, for their relationship in general. And then there's also things that there are so many deep things happening in this book. Something happened to her brother. She does mention it a few times, but it doesn't really feel like she's dealing with it. It felt like it was something really simple that happened. I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first book that I did this. I literally skipped a chunk of pages just to see what was going to happen next. And then she was still talking about the same situation, about the same thing. I don't think I can be able to just go through this and keep reading about it. If you know this book, you know this talks about war. And this girl goes as a volunteer to be a nurse. She volunteered to be a nurse in the war. And then there are a lot of things that she talks about. I know, like, I can feel it, because obviously it doesn't have to be written in an emotional way for someone to feel something, because it's something really, really sad and catastrophic. But at the same time, the emotions that I'm feeling, it's definitely not because of her writing, it's because of the events that are happening. And it doesn't really appeal to me the way that she talks about things, because it really feels like it's something simple on an everyday life basis that happens and nobody feels something about it. And I don't really cope with that. I don't really agree with the way she writes about it. I really think that the story could be so much, because there's literally so much to talk about, so much to make the reader feel, and there's just nothing to me. I really feel like her writing is superficial. I know, I really thought that it was something about the book. First, on Firefly Lane, I thought, okay, maybe this is a translation, but translations don't change the story. Translations don't change the way that she tells the story. And I can really see a pattern on the way she decides to tell the story, and I'm not enjoying it that much. I even gave a second chance and said, okay, skip a bunch of pages to see if something happens, or if something changes, or if it's just an introduction thing that's making me feel a little bit slump on this book. I think that it happens throughout the book. I think it's just her writing in general, in the way she tells story, and it doesn't really appeal to me. It feels so sad, because there are so many good stories. I mean, the couple of stories that I've read of her, or tried to read of her, could be such a good story if the writing was a little bit less superficial. And I really think that the way she writes, it's everything so cliche, everything that people say is so cliche, and there's no feeling behind the things that they say, and how the things happen. She tells the things like, you know, again, it's something simple about everyday life, and I don't really think that's great. And when you choose to talk about a subject like this one, that's about war, about people dying, about people going to serve their country, or about people actually volunteer to be nurses in the war to save lives. This is a heavy story, and you have to be able to tell it. Her writing really kind of shifts something off. and it is kind of disappointing. But you know, not everybody can like the same writers or the same books. I really wanted to try, maybe for the last time, try to read The Nightingale. But if the writing style is the same, telling the things like they are really superficial, I don't think I can go through another Christine Hanna book. Firefly Lane was published a few years ago, so I thought, okay, maybe it's because it was out a few years ago, and you know, okay, maybe it's because of that. Maybe because it was written a few years ago, 2008, I'm not wrong, or 2006, something around that. The beginning of the millennium, people used to write in the different way. They used to tell the stories in a different way. There was a lot of cliches. All of the things were really romanticized. But then when I saw that this book was actually published this year, 2024, I really couldn't believe it, because the way that she wrote was the same way that she used to write Firefly Lane. I am currently trying to read Firefly Lane, this time in English, because the last time that I read it was in a translated version, and my August readings wrap up. And I DNF'd the translated version. I'm really thinking if I should give it another try, but you know, something crucial is missing in this book. I really want to like this author. I wish I could be here to rate this book, but I don't think it's fair for me to rate a book that I DNF. Probably not rating the second book for this challenge. It's a DNF. So maybe we should get to the next one. So the next book for this challenge is going to be, I really hope this was the third book that I said I was going to read, because I totally forgot, but I'm going to start with Good Material. 27 pages in. I actually took more time than I usually do finishing up books, because I had the most busy 2 weeks. It kind of set me a little bit back on my reading pace. It literally took me 2 weeks to finish this book. Good Material was the third book for the challenge. I think I finished this book a week ago, and I haven't read it on Goodreads or on Fable yet, but out of my mind, I'm going to rate it 3 stars, because there's a lot of positive aspects on this book, but I think it was a little bit more hyped than it didn't really meet how high the expectations were for this book. Not that this was a bad book, this is not what I'm trying to say. It was so well written. I really like the way she describes people. The body movement felt really realistic, and I think that I'll definitely read another one of hers just for her writing. I think this book was a really good reading. It felt so light, it felt funny to read, but it is definitely not a book to read when you are in a book slump. It's not my case. Or if you want to start off your reading journey. The story is told by the male point of view. This book is literally someone who is going through a heartbreak, and you just see the process of it since the beginning of the heartbreak. I really think that the story was well told. Obviously, I can't just go through this book without talking about the cover, because this is literally one of my favorite covers ever. When you read about the author, you understand that this has a lot of newspaper related things. I remember when I bought this book, and I bought it because I really like the cover. There are so many covers in the world, and to say that this is one of my favorites, I just think it's so creative. But if this is a book that I'll read it again, probably not, but I wouldn't not recommend it. It was a good book. 3 stars it goes for this one. It's not a bad 3 stars, but it wasn't that good to reach 4, and it wasn't that bad to reach 2. So if someone told me they like heartbreak books from male points of view, it's going inside their minds when they go through heartbreak, I'll probably recommend this one. But she was the one who broke up. It wasn't really that of a douchebag. In the end of the book, we have maybe 20 or I don't know, a lot of pages from the girl's point of view, and when you see through her mind, you actually start to understand. This man could have wrote 2 books about the way he went through heartbreak, but then when her point of view came, you actually start understanding where he got everything wrong, and the fact that he didn't even recognize that. One of the things that you can take about this book is that communication is a really important key in every relationship, and when 2 people can communicate, it really gets hard. In this case, they end up breaking up because they couldn't understand each other, or couldn't at least say what was going through their minds. 3 books out of 5. It's a reject. We can move on to the next one, and I really hope I can finish the one that I'm reading right now. Let's see how it goes. Hi, it's October 1st right now, and I actually didn't get to finish the challenge. because, as I said, I had those 2 weeks where I was really busy and it took me literally 2 weeks to finish Good Material. So with a lot of the time that I could have saved up for to finish the other 2 books that I was thinking about finishing, but those books are actually going to be for October. After Good Material, I actually read another book that was not included on the challenge because I really wanted to read that one. I decided to not include it in the challenge because this book will be talked about in another video that I'm going to post in the future, which was Lila from Colleen Hoover. Again, I'm not going to review this book nor rating in this video, but this is just keep it in the record of the amount of books that I've read in September. But anyways, those 2 books will be moved for the October TBR. So right now, let's see how many books. I have 4 books on my October TBR and I'm actually reading another one which it's going to be checked. So the book that I'm reading right now will be on the October TBR and it will be the first one that you will see as soon as the video starts. And then I will actually be able to go into the books that I really want to read or that I wish I could have read in this challenge. That's something that's going to happen in October. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if I get busy. Bugging around has to be read this month. I know that October will be a better month in terms of reading. So that's all I really wanted to say. I think this challenge was fun. I wish I could have had more time. I think if I had more time, I could actually focus more on reading the books. But I think the most important thing for me is to actually get to enjoy reading them. That's why I didn't start bugging around right after finishing Lila, because I really wanted to enjoy this book and I really feel like I'm going to like this book a lot. So I really want to take my time by reading it. I don't mean by taking another 2 weeks, just how it happened with Good Material, but definitely reading it without breaks, without anything else. I really hope you like this September challenge reading list. Really excited to do the October because I just feel like it will be a better one and I'll have so much to talk about, and I really hope you like this one. So I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye.